66th round of VVV Gaming's The Losers Bracket, and tons of news that we're going to be covering today. I just heard that Astro actually was acquired by Skull Candy. PlayStation Network is still down. Lots that we will be covering. We're going to get things started off this week with StarCraft 2. We're joined today by VVV Time. Got an awesome blog that he's doing on the VVV Gaming site. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. VVV Time, welcome back to Losers Bracket. It's been a while. Patrick, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back.
We are excited that you're here because this marks the dropping of a new patch, and I know you are a Protoss player. And what does this mean for the ever-popular Four Gates? Talk to me.
All right, so I've been playing a bunch of PvP with one of my teammates, Alleged, and we really think that 4-Gate is not going to be nearly as dominant as it was before. Now it's kind of like, I think my opponent's being too greedy, so I'm going to 4-Gate him, rather than every build has to deal with 4-Gate well, the way it used to be, and pretty much everybody went 4-Gate. It's going to open up a lot of new strategies for Protoss players, because they're just going to be able to do whatever opening they want now, rather than always having to do like the same opening just to not die to a 4-Gate.
Yeah, I mean, for those who may not be that familiar with StarCraft, would it be safe to say that the old sort of, before the patch, if you were playing, you sort of had a guess. Was he going to 4-Gate? Was he not going to 4-Gate? And whether you guessed right or wrong, that pretty much was going to determine the match, and it kind of was short typically. Is that fair?
Yes. Basically, there were a lot of games, even in the GSL, at the top-level Koreans, where they tried to do something and didn't account for 4-Gate, and they would just lose instantly. And that doesn't make for very good spectating.
Talk a little bit about the specific changes. You know, you've played a lot now, especially Protoss versus Protoss. What are some of the things that you think right away, immediately, players are picking up on that's going to be different, and the changes that people are talking about?
Okay, so the changes to Protoss that affect the 4-Gate the most are the pylon power radius being decreased from 7.5 to 6.5. When you 4-Gate, typically you're going to put some pylons on the low ground, and then you get vision of their high ground, and you warp in a bunch of zealots up there. So even if they force field their ramp, you can still get in there and start attacking their units. But now that the power radius has been decreased, those pylons have to be closer to the cliff, and so it's easier for the defending player to pick them off with their ranged units. So that's a lot weaker. And also, warp gate research just takes longer. You can't be nearly as aggressive. Your opponent's going to have more time to get out defensive units and things like that.
How does this change personally affect your playstyle? Have you tried any new strategies out? Does anything else seem like it's going to be the new it thing for Protoss? Any strategies that's really sticking out in your mind?
So one build that I've been trying out is this DT expansion build. Now, you can get DTs a lot more easily without dying to a 4-Gate. And another big change that affects PvP is the Archon change. It's now a massive unit, which means that it can basically nullify all of the force fields that they try to place, and its range is increased from 2 to 3. So if you open with DTs, you can harass them. If they don't have detection, you can just win the game immediately. And even if they do have detection, it slows them down. And then you can turn them into Archons when you're done with them. And now the Archons are a lot stronger, so it makes that build a lot more powerful.
You know, this also gives us an opportunity to talk a little bit about your blog, Patrick. Why don't you tell everyone you started a blog and give us the details of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and who your audience is?
All right, so my blog is just called StarCraft 2 Pro Tips. It's on the VVV forum and the community blogs. And it's basically, each one is just a little short article analyzing a pro game. Right now I'm always looking at pro games because then we know that the strategies that are being done are effective and you can find the replays and watch them and learn from them. I try to focus on one key thing in each article that you can focus on yourself to become a better player. These articles are aimed at people who are, maybe diamond or low masters or, platinum and really trying to improve. So it's kind of for the more serious gamer who's trying to step up their game. It's a good way for me to give back, and also it gives me time to look at replays, which I haven't been doing as much lately, and I've learned a lot by doing it.
I noticed time in the past couple blogs, PVT Focus and ZVP Spinecrawler Rush in the GSL. To be honest, these are fairly in-depth blogs. Talk a little bit about the process that you use when you decide, you know what, this is the topic, this is how I'm going to review for it. What is the process you go through when you write these blogs?
Okay, so when I write these blogs, I don't start with a topic that I want to cover. I start by just finding a bunch of replays from recent tournament games, and I watch a whole bunch of them. And if I see something that I think is interesting and I can point out to help other people get better, I start thinking about ways that I can explain that to people. And then once I find a particular thing I want, I find one replay that shows that, I watch it, and I sort of just do an outline, and I point out one or two major factors that helped one player get an advantage, or, one way that they lost that they could have not lost by doing something different.
What has been the feedback you've gotten so far? What has been good? What has been bad? Talk about that process.
Well, most of the feedback has been good. There haven't been too many comments on most of my blogs yet. So one comment that I got was that one person wanted me to go more in depth about, I did an analysis of a game between Morrow and MC, and I covered one particular point, and somebody was like, well, what about all these other details? What's the purpose of getting the Stargate now instead of later, and that sort of thing? I think that's kind of fair. I could include a little bit more, but I'd really like to focus on one thing. I think that sometimes people try to improve everything about their gameplay at the same time, rather than just finding one or two really important details and improving on those. And I think that's more efficient.
That's an interesting comment, because I agree with you that StarCraft is not the type of game that I believe, maybe when you start out, you can grow in many different areas at once, but you sort of plateau at a point. And I think in those plateaus, that's a time to sort of start to focus and then start to purposefully, and I can't stress this enough, purposefully, that means training with purpose, develop one or two aspects of your game.
Right. That's certainly a very important thing to do. And especially with your replays, if you find a replay of yours, there's usually one or two big mistakes that you made that caused you to lose. You should improve on those before you try to improve anything else.
So far, what has been your favorite blog and why?
Well, my favorite blog, I think, so far was I did a Zerg vs. Protoss game between Idra and Kiwikaki. It's called ZVP, Learning to Get More Ahead. And I really enjoyed writing this blog because it's a concept that is one of my strongest points in not only StarCraft, but also Go, which is another game that I play that I talk about in that blog. And the idea is basically, when you're ahead, you want to take fewer risks, and you want to just solidify the game and make it as simple as possible. You have an advantage. As long as nothing weird happens, you're going to win. And I really enjoy talking about that and trying to get other people to improve by doing that.
How are you currently marketing your blog? And if people wanted to be notified of the blog coming out, where would they look to learn about that?
Okay, so currently I tweet every time I make a blog post. Currently I'm planning to do it 5 days a week. I might cut it down a little bit because I have other things going on, but it'll be several days a week. I also posted about it on Facebook. I posted about it on the 2+2 forums, which are some poker forums that I post on. So mostly just going out to forums and tweeting about it.
And we'll obviously help you out by making sure it's above the shout box. And we also get it out there on the VV social media. All right, everyone, this is Patrick, VV Time. Thank you for the update on the latest patch, and thank you for your blog, and we'll keep letting people know about it.
All right, thanks for having me, and I hope my blog has been useful to lots of people.
Thanks again, Time. We really do appreciate you stopping by. All right, let's move on over to Halo. We've got VV Icevayne with us from our team Active Rush. Going to talk a little bit about the V4 settings. Adam, how you doing this week, sir?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Things are great, sir. I'm really looking forward to Columbus. And speaking of Columbus, we've got the new settings that will be featured for Halo at the event V4. Tell us, how has Active Rush been feeling about these settings, and what are your personal views?
So far, Active Rush has been screwing a little bit on the new map they added in V4, which was Warlock, in replace of Nexus TS and Element CTF. The map, first time playing it through, we didn't really enjoy it too much. Personally, I don't feel Warlock should be in Halo Reach at all, especially that remake. But they're fixing a couple things on it, making top middle have a little bit more cover on it, fix the lift so you can actually lift up a bit easier, and maybe adding a grenade launcher onto the map instead of having a very bottom middle. But regardless, I don't think Warlock CTF should really be in the MLG V4 settings over Element CTF. I had Element CTF as a top 3 game type in their V3 settings, but I guess MLG felt different and wanted to go on a different path of a new map being added.
Aside from the changes with the map selection, what other changes have been brought to V4, and do you think that this is for the better? Do you like this better than V3?
Personally, I thought V3 was better. I was a fan of Nexus TS, but that was just me, and my team really loved Nexus TS. Overall, mostly the changes have been just Warlock CTF and TS got added for Nexus TS and Element CTF, like I said previously. And all the bomb game types have been changed to 3 plants instead of 5 plants to try to hopefully down the time on those game types since they seem to be playing out a bit slow. I like that move for the bombs, but still, I just felt Warlock being such a small map and us having sprint, I don't really like it, but it'll be something I'm going to have to get used to for V4.
To add to this change, Active Rush itself has made a player swap. Why don't you talk a little bit about the change to your roster and also your coach is not going. So give us an update on Active Rush overall.
Yeah, after the event, we had talked to Pizza Zype about everything with the event and had a big team discussion, and everybody agreed on wanting to stick together. Well, as the weeks had gone by and everybody agreed on taking a 2-week break, all of a sudden Pizza Zype was getting mad at all of us for not playing Halo in the second week for obviously no reason when he agreed to taking a break. So he would bring up like little tidbit fights that would just get everybody a little frustrated and a little confused even on why he was even bringing stuff up. And as the weeks kept on going by, started trying to do practice, just more of his personality started coming out and seeing he wasn't very sincere in some cases, and just a lot of his personality just wasn't meshing anymore with us and almost became to the point where can we really trust what he was saying anymore and how much of reliability do we have in him. One time during the event, he had a little snap at us during one of our consolation matches. Almost cost us the series, but luckily we were able to bring it back. Going into our coach, he just informed us last week, a day before the pro deadline, he was not going to be able to go to the event as he had no money. I know he was planning on trying to have a job by then, be able to pay for his plane ticket with no problem, but, with the economy at this time, jobs are coming harder and harder to find, so he was not able to really find a solid job to get started on it. And with what happened in Alabama with all the tornadoes hitting, he's an insurance adjuster, so he's actually going to be going out to Alabama and taking care of that for a couple months, I believe. So he'll be busy with that. We were just able to finish our coaching selection today and got ourselves a new coach and a guy named Phil. He's been around the league for quite a few events. He's coached some pretty good teams, so we're pretty excited to have him.
Awesome. So new coach, and let's talk about your fourth.
The new fourth we picked up was Aries. He was a member of Team Ambush at MLG DOS and used to be a member of Active Rush back at the beginning of the 2010 Halo 3 season for Orlando and Columbus. We just decided, talking to him again after Dallas, and we had talked to him previously before Dallas even started, before we even had our fourth, on if he wanted to run some games, because we were always interested in how he played. We always thought he was a very smart player, very skilled player, but just at the time when he previously was on Active Rush, we had a lot of personality issues with some people on the team wanting something this way and half the team wanted a different way, and nobody could ever compromise. So him back on the team, everything's been going pretty well so far. Except for tonight, practice was a little rough, but besides that, we should all be able to get onto the same page here relatively soon. Hopefully tonight we're going to be going over map plans, how we want to do stuff on maps, same call-outs and all that, since he brings a new mind on how he wants to play the game. And like I said, Coach Phil is our new coach, and we interviewed about 15 different people for coaches, and he was definitely the one that stood out the most from out of everybody, just with his experience of coaching teams to top 16 and top 20 quite a bit, and just his personality meshes with us quite well as well.
Well, I will say I like the confidence. It does sound like you are in a good place going into Columbus. With this roster swap, does this change your seeding at all? How do you guys look going into the event?
It doesn't change our seeding at all unless something happens with TD. TD today just found out Defy is not going anymore. So unless TD disbands completely, then that would move our seed up one, but would keep us in the same pool. We just dropped maybe a couple 100 points, but nothing too big right now going into the second event, since right now everybody's so close in points as is. So right now our main focus is on doing really well, breaking into top 8, so on and so forth. So far, we haven't been able to get too much practice in, so we're still quite shaky on what kind of page we want to be in, on how we want to run game types and whatnot. But tonight, hopefully, we should be able to go over, get the same type of call-outs, where we want to throw flags, and how we want to run them, how play each game type, basically. And hopefully that will really help us out. And once we can get more consistent basis and structure on all these maps, that'll definitely help us out for the Columbus event.
Awesome. Well, probably next week we will get your coach on here so we get to meet him. And maybe we'll, even if Aries has some time, we'll get a chance to talk to him. But I want to wish you good luck this week in your practices, and we'll probably catch you next week on the Losers Bracket.
Sounds great, and thank you for having me.
At the risk of sounding redundant, this is now going to be our third week in a row. We've got to mention something about this. PlayStation Network still down. There was actually a press release just this past Tuesday that said, just a couple more days, guys. We're denying these rumors that are going around saying that it's going to be until the end of the month on the 31st that we get it back. But there has been another release saying that Sony is looking towards a May 31st goal to get PlayStation Network back up fully operational. This is pretty big. I mean, a lot of MLG Black Ops teams don't have the copy on 360, can't practice. Speaking of Black Ops teams, we've got a couple members from our own Fly Society joining us. We've got both Nynjatic and Regulate here with us tonight. Guys, how are things going?
Things are going pretty good, man.
Yeah, what's up, guys? It's awesome, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, but we'd also be really glad if we had PlayStation Network so you guys could practice. What's going on? How does the team feel? Is this really shaking you up before Columbus? I mean, talk to me. What's going on?
Yeah, I know the team really is really down about PSN not being back up yet, and they keep posting on Twitter. It's like, we just want to scrim, we just want to practice. So it's hit the team pretty close. Obviously, it being close to MLG Columbus, so a lot of the practicing still kind of gets done with teams from Xbox still playing a little GB ladders here and there, but not the quality practice that you would get on PSN by constantly playing like a lot of the teams that are going to go compete at Columbus. It's just not the same.
Joel, what do you say? You're right there at that ground level. How do you feel like it's affecting your play?
Well, being the captain of the team, I pretty much agree with George. It hits us pretty hard because the controllers are obviously not the same. And like I said, last podcast I was in, we didn't want to scrim too much on a 360, but now we kind of have to because supposedly I heard that the PSN won't be back to the 31st. And if that's it, then we're going to have to just practice on 360. And when we go to Columbus, them 5-hour warm-ups, we're going to have to be grinding out that warm-up because right now it's looking pretty bad. We do not get the best practice in, but I mean, some scrims get in there, some GBs get in there, and right now it's kind of rough. It's hard.
Well, let's talk about what the other pro teams are saying, what the other teams that are going to be competing are saying. Is anybody got an advantage? Anybody you think have any kind of special way that they're able to practice better than other people or anything like that?
Well, there's been some kind of X-Link, something that I heard on Twitter, that you can connect to other servers besides PS3 Online. You have to download it, I guess, install it to your PS3, and you can kind of make a local party and scrim, but everyone will have to do it. It's not just one person on the team. and it's kind of difficult to do because there's some people that they don't have like amazing connection, so it'll take them forever to do it, and I don't really want to do that. I'd rather just stay on 360. And about other teams, honestly, right now I don't think there's too many teams that really care about it. They're just chilling, and that's something that actually I'm happy about because I've been telling my team, let them do what they got to do. If they don't want to practice, they don't practice. Right now, we're here. We practice on 360. Even though it's not the PS3, we still got some practice. So as soon as PS3 comes back up, we're already warmed up. We're good to go. All we have to get used to is the controller. And seeing as I'm the captain right now, it's I just have to get the team motivated and make sure they get on every single day and play.
Yeah, I can imagine that's challenging. And to talk a little bit about what you mentioned, the opportunity to get like your Xbox and your PlayStation and other games to like integrate is something called X-Link's Kai. It's part of Team X-Link. It's a UK site. But nobody really knows how safe it is, whether it always works. I mean, it's supposed to be a kind of technology that allows all the various platforms to kind of work together, and there are downloads on their site. But I don't think that's going to be any kind of real solution. Plus, whenever you download anything, I don't know how well it's connected, but in case anyone's wondering what we're talking about, it's something called X-Link Kai, Kai, from www.teamxlink.co.uk. So I imagine some desperate teams have started using that.
Yeah, X-Link Kai, what it is, it's a program that downloads to your computer, and it acts almost like a PSN server. And what it does, it goes through the LAN connection on Call of Duty Black Ops instead of going through PSN. So your console thinks it's LAN, but it's not. You're still going to have, obviously, the connection issues, and it's nowhere near as stable as it would be if you were playing through the PlayStation Network. It's very similar to a program that players for Halo 1 and Halo 2 used to back in the day called Xbox Connect, which it does almost the same exact thing. It's a program on your computer. You got to find a lobby, and then you join it, and then you go to your console, and then it automatically brings you in. So it does not compare anything, though, to playing through PlayStation Network. But if you got to play through X-Link Kai for scrims, then it's what you got to do.
Yeah, I suppose maybe for those teams that the players don't own an Xbox, I mean, I can't imagine why you'd use it, but maybe under that situation they have to if they want to play as a team.
Yeah, I know with Xbox, a lot of people more tend to use that only because, with Xbox Live, you got to pay for a subscription fee. But, with PSN being down, that would be your next best alternative. You still get to use the PS3 controller. You don't go over to the Xbox 360. And if you don't have a 360 and the only way you can play with your team is through that, then you'll just live with it.
What I'm most concerned about is that we know that the Call of Duty teams and the scene in Dallas was, less than desired. Now we have a long PlayStation Network issue. What does that mean for Columbus? I mean, I guess it means teams come with less practice and it's going to be more about individual skill, maybe? Is that a possibility?
I really do think that's a possibility. But at the same time, they can get on Xbox. It's like 60 to 70% of the teams on PS3 came from Xbox. They can get on Xbox and practice, but the thing is they choose not to because like the top 4 teams, like Leverage, for example, since they won Dallas, they haven't been practicing a lot because they think they're going to be unstoppable. You could say it's going to come down to skill as well, but at the same time, they haven't touched the PS3 controller. They've been playing on 360, so I think what's going to come down to it's going to come down to teamwork, or the teams that have been playing and been active on a 360, which our team's one of them. I mean, Columbus is going to be interesting. I'm really waiting for it, and I think we're going to be up there and showing everyone who is VVV Fly Society.
Well, we certainly hope so. And I'm going to be honest, I think that it may be good for the Call of Duty community in the way that I remember, because of Treyarch being a little late on patching the game. Sundance on this show said that the first event he was going to give the Call of Duty community a pass because it was such short notice. I feel like For better or worse, Sundance has to give the Call of Duty community another pass because, to be fair to them, it's not their fault that the network's down.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I know we don't get a chance to talk much about your team because there aren't a lot of scrims, there aren't a lot of high-profile matches going on. Give us a quick overview. If MLG Columbus were tomorrow, how ready do you feel each player is? Talk about each of your players in an open, honest way as a team captain. Evaluate some of their strengths and weaknesses and give our community a chance to know the players because certainly, unfortunately, they don't get a lot of opportunity to watch. And that way, when your players hear you talk about them, they can yell at you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, since I'm gonna be talking about players, I'll begin with WAF. WAF has he hasn't been active the past week, because he was on vacation in Florida. He recently just got back. Now he gets to kind of mix with his new schedule from work because he used to work from morning to like 9 p.m. So we had to. Everyone's on, and we're still waiting for WAF. But now this week he comes home early. It's only this week, and I mean that's kind of I was like, oh, he's PSN will be back up when you're back, and this and this, and since he's getting home early now, it's like, oh, we got to practice on 360. It's the same, but I wish PSN. But WoW is definitely a top player. He has skill, and seeing as he's not the most active player, and when he gets on, he just drops bombs. I really think that when we go to Columbus, and if it was tomorrow, he'd definitely be up there. He doesn't have an issue with being active or not. He just comes down and he puts his A game and he goes hard.
So with that being said, in a way, because of the kind of player he is, you feel comfortable that he's got that raw skill that he can walk into a situation and adapt pretty quickly and do some work.
Correct. Yeah, so I really do think that Waffles can do that. Same with our other players. Fusion, he usually gets on around 7. Me and Apathy are the most active on the team. Everyone in our player is just skilled. Everyone has been playing. Everyone's a good slayer on our team. Everyone can play objective. Everyone can play support role. And the way we rotate, it's perfectly. So, yeah, if Columbus was tomorrow, I really believe that we'll all be ready and ready to take that crown.
That's what I like to hear. George, what do you feel about this? You agree with all that?
I agree with everything. WAF is a monster. Fusion's a monster. Apathy's a monster. And Joel is even a monster himself. Everyone
Monsters
gets on.
all around, huh?
Everyone's a monster.
So speaking of monsters, not to change the subject, is it true that you've been playing Rift?
Yeah, I've been playing Rift. Since PSN's been down, I haven't been able to watch really any gameplay. I do a little live streaming on Call of Duty, but with that being down, I really can't do anything. So I've been playing Rift.
And how lucky are you to be in the VV Guild for Rift?
Oh, I'm really lucky. I mean, I just look at everyone. There's like 40, 50s in there. I'm like, oh man, I feel so left out. But it's good.
Well, it's good to know that you've been enjoying Rift, and to be fair, I do wish you guys the best of luck with all this PlayStation Network debacle. But this would be the point where I'd normally let you go, but I was hoping you guys could stay around because actually I have a couple more different things we wanted to talk about, and I'd love your input as well. Would you guys have the time?
Let's go. Let's do this.
Awesome. So while we're on the subject of PlayStation Network and things that are going on with this, just saw a tweet earlier this week, actually. Our own MLG Sundance, the CEO of MLG Gaming, has even been closely affected by this PlayStation Network hack. The card that he had associated with his PlayStation Network account actually did have fraudulent charges charged to the account.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he said it was a secondary account to be exact, but one he had forgotten about, and his American Express caught it. And I do believe that former VV member VV Phoenix, John Lunsford, I think he might have been the other person to tweet that he was in a similar situation where American Express caught it. To be honest, I think everyone's fairly safe. Not just that I think the banks will catch it, but I mean, I'm sure Sony said, when PlayStation Network makes a charge to a card, there's a certain sort of information that precedes what the charge is going to be. And I'm sure that all banks are aware, if a charge comes through on this card and it's, not a point of sale charge, like it's not in a brick and mortar building or something like that, it's going to be an online charge, that definitely definitely be suspicious. It looks like they got caught. But, it does confirm what everybody said, that, it was a pretty massive security breach. And, it did make me look at my bank statement, I have to admit. I look at my PayPal account just to see if anything had been affected. And I wonder if any of you guys are worried, have checked your accounts. How does it affect, what do you guys feel?
Well, I know for me, I don't have any credit cards or debit cards or anything like that linked to PSN, so I know it's not going to affect me at all.
Yeah, it's just the news of this coming out. This is one of the reasons why I'm really glad I've never really used that PlayStation Network account, never put a credit card in there. I got my PlayStation 3, but honestly, it doesn't get that much use. I do love the recent press conference that they had. Kaz Hirai, during the middle of the conference, he said, there's potentially been some credit card information leaked. Love that word, love the PR spin there, especially now with this news coming out that people have had fraudulent charges on their cards. It's just getting that much worse. Things keep piling up for Sony.
We should also mention something else. Everybody's talked about Sony, talked about PlayStation 3, but I thought this week we got a real dose of reality from Capcom. For those of you that may not have heard, one of Capcom's executives, the VP, I think his name is actually a senior VP there at Capcom, Christian Svensson, kind of chimed in. He reminded us that it's not just Sony that's being hurt. He said, I think his quote was, in short, the hackers appear to be trying to punish Sony for some perceived injustice, and they've been ineffective in that, I suppose, but they're also punishing millions of other consumers and businesses, which makes it impossible to be sympathetic to their cause. And, you really don't think about it, but think about the game releases, think about the games that are losing audience, right? Like Capcom especially, right? I mean, this would have been an enormously important time for them, if you think about it.
That's a very interesting point of view, too. Yeah, I mean, one game that was really hyped up that came out this week, Brink. Nobody's even going to be able to play it online on the PlayStation 3 just because the network being down. This is negatively affecting the entire gaming industry. Very sad news when you think about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you think about all the titles, right? I mean, obviously, Marvel vs. Capcom, that's a big game that's recently come out. When I think about that, and even other games, I mean, Mortal Kombat just came out, right? I mean, that certainly nobody can play on the PlayStation.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, and another game, too, that I actually bought that same day that PSN went down was SOCOM. I was in a rush coming home, turned on my PS3, put in SOCOM, and then that happened, and I got really mad. But yeah, SOCOM is another huge hit for PS3, and there's been so many SOCOM fans that have been dying to play the game online, and they couldn't play it, so...
Yeah, very true. Another game that came out that same day was Portal 2. And there was that big special where if you got the game on PS3, you actually got a free copy of the PC version as well. Well, you only had the 1 day to register it, and if you didn't before the PlayStation Network went down, you didn't get to play your copy on the PC either. So, pretty shitty considering that if you bought that game, then there's no way you could have played it on the PC, even though you did pay for that on that day. So... definitely affecting the industry the whole way around.
Yeah, and I think Joel brings up a good point because I know, for example, that we've often, been contacted by SOCOM teams, and the person who runs the American SOCOM League, this was their big moment to shine. And, he told me after this, he's like, you can't catch a break. We get sponsors interested. There's a lot of hype for a game. We're going to be on the PlayStation, and it's a pretty mature community. And then nothing. I mean, there's just nothing they can do. Part of the reason that I've tweeted this too, I said, I kind of feel sorry for Sony, but I do think the senior VP at Capcom reminds us that a lot of other companies are losing a lot of money because of these hackers. And to me, any time in the past where being a hacker or a hacker may have been cool or fighting for some cause, I see hackers now much more like terrorists. There are proper channels to fight your cause, and this is not the way to do it. Now, they may not be terrorists in the sense that they're blowing people up or killing people, but it's kind of an economic terrorism where they are basically going outside the law to cause financial damage to companies. And again, just like when terrorists blow up bombs and they kill innocent civilians, you have the same situation here. Your economic terrorism is resulting in, money that's being taken away from companies like Capcom and those who rely on their game being released on all the platforms. And those dollars, that has a ripple effect, right? They take in less income, their stock prices drop, they have less capital to invest in another game. So you damage their capital cycle, or what they expect to have as far as their capital, in order to invest in the next game. So, I mean, the whole thing is bad. And having been hacked before, I'm not a big fan of hackers. But now I think it's time that a lot of people should change their approach. If you're anybody out there who's involved in hacking forums or thinks, that this is a good thing, take a moment and really think about that. I really think it's just a form of economic terrorism and it needs to go away. All right, this is going to bring us to the end of our show, but you know what? Come to think of it, George, Joel, I'm really glad you guys stuck around, especially you, Joel. I know that a lot of people haven't been able to play on the PlayStation Network, but I really got to ask about the settings before I let you guys go, because I don't know, do they change enough? Now that you guys have had some time to play with the settings, at least on the Xbox, what do you think, Joel? How's it looking?
Well, to tell you the truth, right now I love the settings. What happened was they actually ended up changing the settings and they added rapid fire before. Now that they actually agreed to it and they thought that rapid fire was not the right thing to do, they finally took it off. It seems pretty good right now. The S&D, the new S&D, you have to win 6 rounds. They switched it. It was in Dallas. It was best of. Career got to 4 rounds, and now you have to win 6 rounds to win the entire S&D. Another change was they lowered the time limit from 2.5 to a minute and a half, and they took off the ninja plant, which you can't ninja plant no more. Now every single time you plant, anyone can just sound whore you and they can hear you plant it, which involves more teamwork. So far, the way we've been scrimming it, I like it because it makes the teams just get more involved with rushes. It pretty much, I think the S&D is now based on like whichever team has the best rushes in the game. When you're playing the bomb, you can always trick the other team. You can fake plant and then have them come out to you and just pick them off. You can either just keep playing the bomb and have everyone set up. It takes a lot of teamwork to actually play S&D. And the new DOM rules as well. It's a 7.5, and they changed the cap time. Now you can honestly just cap a flag in like less than 2 seconds. It's way more fast paced. They lowered the time from 8 minutes to 6.5. Right now, they took out Villa Dom because it was a really campy map, and it was too big of a map for Dom. So now it only leaves Summit Dom and Fine Range Dom. So right now the settings are looking awesome, and I can't wait to play them in Columbus.
Sounds good, Joel. At first I wasn't really excited about these changes, but the way that you just explained them did make me very excited. I am looking forward to spectating this in Columbus. A couple other quick notes before we end the show. Some things that do affect MLG. One, Astro was just recently purchased this week by Skull Candy. Any thoughts on this, Jerry?
I mean, I think it was a matter of survival. I'm just going to be honest. I think in order for Astro to stay competitive, it has to consistently innovate. And whereas SteelSeries is financially healthy, Turtle Beach is certainly rolling. I mean, recently in Game Informer, their top of the line got #1 headset. Astros were listed as second, but I think, this is good for Skull Candy. They get this other brand, and I think it's probably, hopefully, results in some kind of infusion of capital for Astro. I mean, to be honest, it's either that or it's bad news, but I'm going to try to be optimistic.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. I look forward to seeing, hey, maybe we'll see some new products because of this. Hopefully this means more marketing, and maybe we can get some better products from Astro as well. So we'll have to stay tuned and see what this purchase of Astro by Skull Candy means for their headsets. One other quick note, second thing to note for MLG Columbus, there actually is going to be another activity added to the spectator side of things. there will be a Mortal Kombat area at MLG Columbus for spectators to play the game in a tournament environment. This will be the first time that this game has appeared at an MLG event. We should all look forward to seeing what kind of gameplay and events are hosted around this title at Columbus. Any thoughts, guys?
Yeah, Jason, I actually do look forward to seeing some Mortal Kombat. I mean, kind of like one of those games I grew up with, been around forever, so it'll be cool to see this. I don't own it, so who knows, maybe after looking at it, it'll be something I know for Doomhammer and I to have around the house so we can play, so because he likes fighting games. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing it. I think it's great that MLG is adding those kind of side events, which they promised they would, so it's really good to see.
Definitely. One of the things I feel that MLG is really missing this season is one of those one-on-one fighting games like Brawl was last year. That was always something that got the crowd really involved. It's really easy to spectate. You know, you never really have to guess what's going on. You can see the life bars. So as a spectator myself, I look forward to seeing this in Columbus and seeing what this brings to the event. And who knows, if it goes well, we could see maybe Mortal Kombat making its way onto the circuit. There are already a couple of big-name tournaments heading around the country that do have Mortal Kombat involved. One actually is out in Las Vegas just this week. So look forward to seeing that at Columbus. But alas, this does at this point bring us to the end of the losers bracket. This week, as always, I'd like to thank the VV sponsors, SteelSeries, Gamer Grub, Control Freak, MusicSkins.com, GamerLogos.net, and Custom Inc. Big thanks to the VV community. Your feedback and support is definitely what helps us to keep this show as awesome as it is. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Be sure to stop by our podcast homepage. The website is vvvgaming.podbean.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. Just search for VVV Gaming. That way you can follow both of our shows. That would be Directional Influence, which is our Brawl show, and the Losers Bracket, of course, what you're listening to right now. Email us at thelosersbracket@vvv-gaming.com if you have any suggestions or feedback that you would like to directly share with us. You can also follow us over on Twitter. There we are simply known as Losers Bracket. Thanks so much to all of you for tuning in this week. We look forward to hearing your thoughts on the show, and we shall see you back here next week. Until then, take care.
Take care, everybody. Big shout out to Vivi Eridan in the Rift Guild for being probably one of the classiest and best guild officers I've had the privilege of working with. I also want to give a big shout out to Vivi Roar in the StarCraft division. They have big things planned, and we look forward to talking about those big things on next week's Losers Bracket. Have a good one, everyone.